Hey everybody, it's Carmela from Carmela's Rasslin Radio Relived. I'm here with my buddy and partner Jeannie. How you doing, sweetie?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm actually very excited about tonight's show. We have, as you can see behind me,
Me
the
too.
great and powerful Ox Baker. He looks like a genie. But anyway, not you, Genie, a genie. Okay. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. We're going to talk about him with his daughter, Megan. Her name is Megan Baker Kelly. She's going to come on at about 6 o'clock. Right now it's 5:30, and you and I have some business to discuss. So, with that, you want to start? Can you hear me?
Yes, I want
Okay.
to first acknowledge. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. I just wasn't sure.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, honey.
Okay. Um, okay. I want to acknowledge we had a passing of an indie wrestler who was so good, and by the name of Vince Steele. And he was only 39 years old,
God bless
and
him.
it was at an indie card and last Sunday, I believe it was. And he had a heart attack in the ring, and unfortunately, um, they weren't able to um, save him. So, deepest condolences to his family, his fans, his friends, his brothers in wrestling, and Godspeed. Very sad.
That's horrible. God bless. I know his family must be in torment right now, especially
Yeah.
that young. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family. Uh, May he rest in peace. And Godspeed. That's it. You never know in this business what's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And he was strong. He was young, from what we understand. He was in good shape. He was a big boy, but he was, good. He was strong.
Yeah.
So again, our condolences go out to the family. Um, okay, another thing we want to talk about is we want to give a little bit of a hello, a heads up to an officer, a very kind man, with the most beautiful name I have ever heard in my life. Okay, his name was Montana Lightheart. And it's funny because Joel right away heard that and he was like, Heart, just like my last name. We met this nice officer. Well, actually, Joel met him, and he was talking to me on the phone. So he put me on speaker, and he said, right away, right. Joel and I are so much alike. It's sad. Right away, he says to the officer, "Do you like wrestling?" And the officer's like, "Yeah." So he starts telling him about May 3rd and blah blah blah. And then of course you hear me on the phone yelling, "Tell him about my podcast! Tell him about my podcast!" And my daughter says to me, "Mom, really? Do you always have to do that? No matter who you see, no matter who you meet, it's got to be my podcast." I said, "Well, how am I supposed to let everybody know about my podcast?" But anyway, hello to Officer Montana Lightheart. He's from the Gwinnett Police Department. God bless you. Thank you for your service. Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to some wrestling news. I'm hoping this is a lie. I'm hoping it's not true. But we were reading and heard that at WrestleMania there may or may not be a Lifetime Achievement Award for John Cena. I read about it and then I was told by one of my contacts that it's really probably not true. However, they do have a luncheon set up for him that everybody can go to at the seat price of $25,000 a seat. Okay. Now,
Unfreaking real.
I know some people don't make $25,000 a year. Okay. And as hard as it is to live on what we do make a year, could you imagine putting out $25,000 to sit in a building where, by the way, you may never get any contact with this man at all? Okay. You may never even get to shake his hand, but you will, quote unquote, break bread with him. Okay. At this point, I'd rather get my own bread, sit in my television, and break it with WrestleMania and not have to pay a dime. Okay. That's
Well,
ridiculous.
yeah. Well, first of all, that's insane. Unfortunately, I mean, well, I would never do it, even if I had the money.
Never,
Just
never.
throw away.
Never.
But if it was, I don't know. I can't even think. John Bon Jovi. And I had the money. Oh yeah. I'm doing it. But it wouldn't yeah, no. But if people are gonna, if they have the money and they can do it and they want to do it and it's their dream, then God bless.
Ridiculous. I'll tell you, there is one person only, and you know this, everybody knows by now, that I may do it for if I was disgustingly rich. And
Right,
like you
right.
said, I had
Yeah.
$25,000 to just blow. But then again, I might not do it anyway, but it would be Elvis. That's it. Nobody else but Elvis. No, there's not a wrestler. There's not an entertainer, male or female. There's no way. No way. But anyway,
Not
enjoy
even Will Ospreay.
not that much money. Okay.
If you if you had the
If I
money.
had it, no. I love Will Ospreay. I love him. I love him. I love him. But with the odds that I may not get to talk to him, because I heard he doesn't really sign autographs, but he does talk to you and he's very nice. He'll take a picture with you. Um, no, I wouldn't put it out for Will Ospreay. I'm sorry, Will, if you hear this. I love you to death. But yeah, well, I don't know. If I had that kind of money,
That's
yeah,
what I'm
maybe I
saying.
would. Yeah,
Obviously,
maybe
we
I
wouldn't
would.
do it today
Yeah, maybe
because we
over
don't have
72.
$25,000.
Right,
But
right.
if money was not an object, you're a billionaire.
That's
Would you
true.
do
I
it?
would. Okay. Elvis, Will Ospreay, Tony Storm. I love her. I absolutely love her. Maybe her too. Okay, so let's. Speaking of wrestling,
Yes.
there was a Dynamite last Wednesday, or this Wednesday just passed, where John Moxley went against our dear Edge. Okay, and there was a street fight. Okay, and there was a piece of wood in the ring with a bunch of nails sticking out of it on one end, which literally looked like a very large hairbrush. Okay, those hairbrushes that are,
Yeah.
I forgot what they're called, but anyway, Edge body slammed John Moxley right onto those nails. Okay, and I've got to tell you, fake or not, it looked good. Okay. Moxley let out this yell that you could hear probably the other side of the arena. He literally stood up with the nails in his back. Everything's just stuck to him still. Wheeler jumped in, and he and the referee got pulled it out of his back, and you could see it was pulling skin with it, which was like unbelievable. It was crazy. That was a good thing to see. I mean,
I saw the highlight of it.
okay,
And I was just like, I get the shock value of it and the hardcore and and all that stuff. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't care who it is. There's just nothing worth that kind of legit pain and
no,
agony that you're inflicting on yourself. And I personally don't like it and have no respect for it. I really don't.
I think it rocks. I do. I love it. I mean,
And that's fine, to each
yeah,
his own. If
yeah,
that's,
yeah, exactly. I
so
thought
many
it was pretty
people
cool.
love that, those death
Yeah,
matches and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
I
I,
guess
I
it's
did.
because I know so many people who used to do that and it was awesome. And oh my God, did you see what they did? And oh my God, they went blah, 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 blah. And now they can barely walk. It's like, was
I
it
know.
really worth
I
it?
know.
Like,
Yeah, I
that's where
know.
I'm coming from.
I get that. I do. I think in general, wrestling in general is going to do that to them ultimately anyway, to most people. But
Right. And
yeah.
but to do that,
Hmm. I
in
understand
addition
what
to
you're
just
saying.
normal wrestling,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
your
Well, you know
body is
what? The
just
thing
going to
that
be a
that
mess.
really bothered me a little bit about it was the way where it landed on his back was literally, seriously, in his spinal column area. It wasn't like off to the side. It wasn't just a chicken wing.
Yeah, it
It
was
was kind of
across.
like, yeah, the line that goes right down your back.
Yeah.
Um, Also, Tony Storm was there, and she is going to fight. There's a new lady in AEW. Her last name is Bain. I'll think of her first name in a minute. She is unreal. She's tall. She's a big girl. She comes out with this headdress on like a goddess. She is amazing, and she and Tony Storm are going to like kick the hell out of each other. So that's going to be good to watch. And I love Tony Storm. I love the way she talks. Like I said, she does that Marilyn Monroe thing, and she came out at one of the shows, and she puts a microphone and she goes, your tramp is champ again," or something like that, or your champ is a tramp, or I love it. I just love her. I love her to death.
I
So
find that
anyway,
so annoying.
what that she said
That
tramp?
gimmick, just
Oh,
the
that
gimmick
gimmick,
in
I love
itself.
it.
I'm sure
I
she's
love it.
fine, but the gimmick is I just find annoying as
See,
hell.
this is what makes our show good. It's not like we're not agreeing on anything, on everything, which would be bad. So this is good.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Also, we're going to talk a little bit about Cauliflower Alley Club because we promise to announce it every week. Um, Jeannie and I have joined. Okay, it's $35 plus tax. It comes out to be $36.19 or something. But anyway, if you go to caulifloweralleyclub.com, you
.org. Org.
.org. I'm sorry, I always say that .org, and you can go and you can join there. Uh, excuse me. This is an organization that helps wrestlers when they have fallen on hard times. It's an association that helps wrestlers' families, referees, announcers. We've had Rich Engling on here before. He is the vice president. I called him the president before. He's a vice president. And Jeannie, tell everybody about the reunion that's coming up this year.
It's in August 18th through the 21st.
Right, 21st.
In Las Vegas. And there's going to be seminars and dinners and luncheons and all kinds of things that you go to. You have to be a member to be included in those things. And yeah, for $35. And now there is a fee. I think it's $150. But that includes every seminar, every dinner, every luncheon, everything. It's all included. They have discounted rooms for like $45 a night.
And it's at the plaza.
And it's at the plaza. And they're also going to do, and this is an additional fee, and I apologize, but I honestly do not remember what the cost was. I'm not sure if Rich said it or not.
$20 or $25, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's more than that.
But
anyway, but I'm not sure. We'll get confirmation. That a celebrity roast of the one and only Mick Foley, and there's going to be comedians and celebrities and everything, and that should be a fun night. There's going to be a free wrestling match, I think, on that Sunday, the 17th.
Yeah,
but it's a free wrestling thing out by the pool.
It doesn't cost you anything to get in.
Right. So it should be a really, really good time.
And the good thing about it is, like Joel was telling us, he has gone, and you are actually there every day, walking and talking and sitting with wrestlers all the time. Like they're all there. And a lot of them, most of them are old school, but that's, to me, is the better wrestling. There's going to be guest speakers. According to Rich, JBL goes a lot. Rey Mysterio goes a lot. Jimmy Hart is always there. There's a lot of wrestlers that are there all the time.
The Rock's mother was there last year, and she had out her ukulele and got everybody hula dancing and stuff. Yeah, so
and Sting was there. So it's going to be really good. And a lot of these professional wrestlers that are there, I mean, you will have to pay to get your picture taken with them or whatever. It's not like crazy money though. And a lot of these wrestlers take their proceeds that they make from those sales and give it to Cauliflower Alley Club.
Right. Yeah. So, it's a reunion, but this is how they raise money to be able to help all of their members. So, and if you want to be a lifetime member, you certainly can be. That's $400.
Right.
A one-time fee for it for the rest of your life. It's $35 if you want to be a yearly member.
Right.
You have to renew every year, but that's not monthly. It's for the whole year.
Exactly.
So it's really,
Right.
really
And that entitles you to all the events and everything that they have.
right.
So that's important to know. Anyway, if everybody wants to go, let us know. You can email us at 316carmela at gmail.com. Maybe we can put together a trip. We're thinking about it. A couple people have already talked about wanting to go. So let's do that. Now let's talk about the big thing that's coming up. It's coming up on May 3rd. Now, you guys have been bombarded and bombarded and bombarded with this particular wrestling event. But keep in mind, it's only a few more weeks away, okay? It is called One and Done. It's Joel Goodhart's promotion. It's his
TWA.
final TWA. It's his final anything to do with wrestling. That's it. We have been pushing the hell out of this. We have had wrestlers on. We have had Facebook going crazy. Ryan Kavanaugh has been pushing the hell out of the wrestling on Facebook, and interviews with the various wrestlers that are going to be there.
And the petition for the banner, which everybody, we got it.
We got it. The banner's going up and it's coming down on the 3rd. So for nothing else, you got to be there for that. And on that banner, Jeannie, will be Joel Goodhart and the late great Larry Winters, Tony Stetson, Johnny Hotbody, and DC Drake. Exactly.
And every single person on that banner it's so deserved, earned, overdue. They really, really deserve this. They earned it.
Exactly. I believe that they are literally the heart of Philadelphia wrestling. Anybody who remembers the 80s when Joel and Paul and I were involved together, we had an incredible reception with the people in Philadelphia on our radio show. And Joel went on to do the TWA, and everything turned out beautiful for him. And he's got a one and done. And in the show, there are several other people who have a one and done too. Well, not a one and done, but a continuing and done. The Rock and Roll Express, 2025 is going to be their last year. Okay, so
in-ring wrestling.
Yeah, this will be one of their last matches. We have Tony Stetson going against Mike Tartaglia. That's going to be Tony's last match. And we had them on last week, and oh my God, what
was that an amazing show?
Oh my God, Tony and Mike were going at it like this through the whole time. We were dying between laughing and
Johnny as well. And Johnny, even Erica got involved.
Yeah, Johnny came on. Yeah, and it was great. I got to talk to you in a minute about Erica, but Johnny came on, and it was great. And we're hoping so much. Joel actually told me today that ticket prices are really coming up, which is excellent. That's like I said, don't wait till the last minute. It's at the 2300 arena. I'm sorry, what did I say?
Ticket prices.
No, prices are not going up. That's right, sales. Anyway, so it's a 2300 arena. Go to 2300.com and get your tickets. Don't wait till the last day, because, like I said before, it will be more money at the door. The WrestleCon, that's going to be there in the afternoon from 12 to 3:30. And then the show, it's 2 completely different tickets. So remember that, okay? And then, Jeannie, tell them about after the show.
After the show, the after party. I'm excited at the old Marriott, which is now the DoubleTree by Hilton. And you have to bring your ticket stub from the show in order to get in and party with all the old TWA guys, the new guys, everybody. And there are, I think, still some rooms available so you don't drink and drive. You can just go party and then head up to your room upstairs. I have my room already, or our room already booked. It's all booked. So yeah, it's gonna be a great time.
I can't wait. It's going to be really great.
Yeah.
And Jeannie and I are going to be there from like the beginning of the WrestleCon until the end of the show. So literally, I'll probably be carried out by the end of the night, and forget the party. But then to make it worse is Sunday. I didn't realize it, but Sunday I have another huge event that I have to go to, and I'm already planning on taking Monday off. Yeah, my blended daughter, her
Mm,
name is Devin. My blended daughter
yeah.
um, is getting she's getting married, and we're, I mean, there's things that we're doing, for her.
Right.
And I she always calls me her blended mom, and she's such a beautiful girl. I love her to
She
death.
is.
Yeah, she's getting married, so we're doing some stuff with her. But like I'm telling you, it's ridiculously crazy that weekend. But that's okay. It's worth it. It really is. And there's going to be so many other people there. Baby Doll's going to be there. Medusa Michelli's going to be there. Our Heidi Lee Morgan's going to be there. Tessa Blanchard is going to
Yes.
be going against Samantha Starr, who is now Samantha Starr is Baby Doll's daughter, and Tessa Blanchard is Tully Blanchard's daughter. And it's like Tully Blanchard and Baby Doll have a history, and now their daughters are going against each other. So that's going to be really good.
Yeah.
One of the other last matches is going to be Breaker Morant. He's going to go against
Chris
Chris
Wilde.
Wilde. Yep, and they're hopefully going to be on our show soon. Okay, I don't know how that's going to work having both of them on the show, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, and we're going with everything we possibly can with this. We are pushing whole hog. I mean, we are going forward with this 100%. I say we because Jeannie and I are involved in helping out, but it's all Joel. It's
Yeah.
him and Bay Ragney. Bay, I love you, Bay. God bless Bay.
Yes.
Joel, and I have nothing. I mean, there's nothing more to say. It's like ridiculous. They're so hardworking in this. It's crazy.
They
Um,
really are. And if you ever went to any of Joel's TWA shows and you were a fan, and there was a lot of people that went to a lot of his shows, and loved it, you just need to come out, honor the guys that are going to be on the banner, all the other guys who are part of it, Glenn Osborne, and Manny Fernandez is going to be
oh,
there,
my
and
boy, my boy.
yeah, and it's just going to be a very nostalgic. I'm going to be a hot mess. I've said this, I don't care how many times,
Yeah,
but I am. It's going to be very emotional because it really was a great time in Philadelphia wrestling, and these guys deserve this closure of it, and it's really
absolutely,
going to be a great night. A whole
absolutely.
day, I should say. The whole
Yeah,
day is just going to be amazing. And if you were a part of it back in the day, you got to come. You got to
yeah.
come.
And you know what? If I could make chicken cutlets for all of you, I would. Trust me on that.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe we can get them to pick up or bring in a stove and a frying pan, a bunch of
They
chicken.
got a kitchen at the 2300
Do they
arena.
have one? Okay, well,
Yeah.
maybe we'll see.
Yeah, they
Maybe
got
100,
food and drinks
900
and
pieces of chicken.
beverages there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Now, the other thing I want to talk about real quick before we go on to other things is that tomorrow, Jeannie and Joel and our friend Christine and Sandra, we are going to Ryan Kavanaugh's ECWA Super 8.
Yes.
So I'm kind of excited about that because Super 8 is always an experience. And Jeannie, as you know,
Yeah.
previous Super 8s have produced incredibly amazing stars.
Yeah.
One, for example, was Daniel Bryan, who was Brian Danielson. The other
Mhm.
one was Adam Cole, Tommaso Ciampa.
Mhm.
Um, who else, Jeannie? Do you know anybody else that you can think of?
Um, well, off the top of my head, I don't. Before I started going, I know um, Brian Danielson, but um, in the years that I've been, I mean, there's the Greek god Papadon, Breaker Morant, Chris Wilde, who else? So many, just great local guys, or I shouldn't say local guys, indie guys, um, and they come up from all over the country. Like they're selected. This is like their WrestleMania, the
Yes.
Super 8.
Yeah.
And it's been going on for 50 some years.
That's
And
awesome.
it's really, and they, you get to see guys from other states come up, and I've never been to one where it just didn't kill. It just that
Yep.
they were just they put Ty Awesome.
Yep.
Trying to think of more. Joey Ace, Mike Law, just so many great local talents as well as around the
And
country.
Jeannie loves herself some Papadon too, don't you?
Oh my God. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
came up that we've been friends for like
I saw
uh,
that. I
so
did. It
many.
was pretty
Yeah,
cool. I saw that.
yeah.
What else was I going to talk about? There was something else I wanted to say about and Ryan Cavanaugh, by the way, is involved in doing the documentary
Yes.
for One and Done and for the TWA and for everybody. If you look on Facebook, you'll see some of the videos that were done with the wrestlers on themselves or the ones that Ryan did, and he's really good at that stuff. By the way, if any of you want to go tomorrow, I believe the show starts at 7:30, Jeannie. 7.
7.
7, and it's a place called the Dugout.
Mhm.
It's in Marlboro / Manalapan. So just look it up, the Dugout, and we're going to be there. Joel and Sandra, and like I said, Jeannie, um, Christine, and myself. So we're going to be
Yeah.
there. We're going to have fun. So just go. It's funny because I'm the type of person. I'll be honest with you. I'm a flake. I flake, and everybody knows it. All right. I make plans. I want to do it. I want to be there. I want to do it so badly. And then all of a sudden that day comes, and a leg hurts or a back is swollen or something. I'm like, I'm not going to go. But thank God I have Jeannie and Joel and Sandra to kick my butt back in gear and talk me into going. Joel's on the phone with me at work today, going, you know what, you have to go, and he actually sounded like that too. So I'm going to go, and so we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to be
Yeah.
there as well. I'm trying to
And I
think of.
believe even Monsieur Ulala is going
Oh,
to
good.
be
I got
there.
to bring him those
He's
books,
not in the Super 8, but he's
but
in
he'll be
the
there.
but he's going to be there because I know that they usually always have a like a battle royal in between the final matches, and to give the guys that
Right.
just wrestled time to like rest up and
Yes.
prepare for the final. Um, so yeah, there's usually and I think he's a part of that, if I'm not
Cool.
mistaken.
Also, I wanted to start our a little intro to our next part of our show. When we're done with the next part of the show, Jeannie, if you think of any other wrestling stuff that we missed, we can do that at the end. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to set this up a little bit. Our next guest, who's coming on in a few minutes, her name is Meghan Baker Kelly. Okay. When I first was on, those of you who know me know that I can be a real bitch when I want to be, and I'm sorry, and I'm not denying that. But when I was on Facebook, I had posted something stating, "Happy 90th birthday to Ox Baker," and then somebody wrote on the bottom, "No, it'll be 91." And you know me, I'm like, "Who are you? Like who are you to tell me, when his birthday is or whatever?" And I said to her, "Yeah, how do you know?" And she was like, "I'm his daughter." And I was like, "Get the hell out of here. You're not his daughter." I mean, so many people say stuff like that. So she said, "No, I am." And I asked her flat out, "Do you want to be on my podcast?" And she said, "Yeah." And I thought, well, she can't be that much of a faker if she wants to be on my podcast because she knows I'll slam her. So we got to talking. We gave each other our phone numbers. We got to talking, and I vetted her as much as she vetted us. Okay, and turns out that she is Ox Baker's daughter. Um, I'm going to let her tell the whole story. This is the first podcast. This is the first time, let's put it this way, that she has ever been able to tell her story, and it is quite a story. Some people will be crying by the end of this story. I know it choked me up real bad.
Yeah.
Ox Baker was a friend of mine. Okay, he spent time at my house, and the funny thing was, I said to her, he was at my house, and the funny thing was that Jeannie and my daughter like looked at and we laughed, and immediately she said, "What, his red toenails or whatever it was?" Like that. I said, "Oh my God, she's like, "Yeah, I
I
know."
I was terrified of him, just his appearance, which
Just like
is
that appearance,
horrible.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my God, is this guy going to, kill me in my sleep, or you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, you're just,
yeah,
he was until I saw, and I was like, are your toes bleeding? And
yeah.
he was just like, because I don't know if he had flip flops on, sandals, or just barefoot. I don't remember. I just remember seeing it looked like his toes were all bleeding, and he was like, "No, it's nail polish. You like
Yep.
them? Don't they look great?" And
I know.
I was just, and that was it. I wasn't afraid of him anymore, and he was just the nicest
No.
man ever.
Even my daughter, same thing. Now
Yeah,
imagine Ox Baker, okay? He looks like the genie from Aladdin, number one. Number two, the guy's 6'8", okay, weighed like close to 300 pounds. The heart punch, the look at the mustache, the eyebrows. I mean, it's amazing.
yeah.
And yet, this guy was a kitten. Like when you talk to him privately and you knew him privately, he was the sweetest man. Spent a whole entire
Gentle
weekend
giant.
just
Yeah,
about, yeah, a big giant teddy bear. Sadly, big giant teddy bears have two sides. Okay, so we're going to call this. I talked to Megan earlier, and we're going to kind of talk about this as a little bit of the dark side of the ring uh, replica. I'm going to say I'm not taking anything away from that
right.
program, but there's a lot of darkness to this as well. So please pay attention to the whole thing, and please share this. It's time. Megan wants the whole world to know. And I think it's time that the whole world does know, and she's right.
Yeah,
So please pay attention to everything she's going to say. We're going to kind of let her call the shots here tonight. I also told her on the phone, I said, I am not in this for the popularity. I'm not in it for money. I'm not in it for anything like that. I'm in it to have a good time, number one, but I'm in it to let people know what wrestling was like and what happens to these people and what they live like and what their lives are like. And you'll find out as we go on with Megan that not everybody's life was a good life. Okay. And we saw him as this giant mega star, which he was, but inside it was a whole different story.
yeah.
Okay, so without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on Meghan Baker Kelly. Megan, hi.
Hi.
How are you? Megan,
Hello,
this is
welcome,
Jeannie.
welcome.
Hi, Jeannie.
Hi, nice to
She's a
meet
sweet
you.
girl and she's very tall, like her father. She's 6'2", you
She's
said,
sick
right?
too.
6'2", God
Wow.
bless her. And yes, you do definitely look like you could be Ox Baker's daughter. You have that what do I want to say, that abruptness, like he, very confident, very, approachable. And he was very like I told you on the phone, Megan, I am going to turn most of this over to you. We'll also jump in and talk as time goes on, but I want you to tell us your story.
Oh, Lord. I don't even know really where to start. Just growing up, like my dad was in and out of my life. It's funny that you guys were talking about painting his toenails because one of the stories was he was to take me to McDonald's from my grandmother's house, and it was in walking distance from where I lived. And he got mixed up. He wasn't good with directions. We ended up at Family Dollar, and he's like, let's get some fingernail polish. And the lady was like, okay, well, the fingernail polish is over here. And she goes, if you need any help. And he's like, yeah, I'll come to you. Well, she saw him looking for a certain color. And she goes, well, we have pretty pinks and pastel purples. He goes, no, I want the deepest, brightest red you have. Because he always painted his toenails red. And she goes, well, sir, you have a little girl. And he sternly, big booming voice. And he said, I want red. And the lady was like, oh my God, okay, here. She was so scared of him. I think she about peed her pants. I felt really bad for her, but that was my dad. And I'm like, whatever. So I went home and me and the neighbor kids painted his toenails. He did make one of the neighbor kid boys always scared to death. And he always ran out of my grandmother's house. And he peed his pants a couple times. Sorry, Mike. I can say your name. You gave me permission a long time ago. But they loved my dad. My dad was the biggest kid on the block. Played with everybody, spun him in the air with one hand, thought it was a cool trick. Probably scared
Now,
us all to death.
now what state are you in at this
I'm in
point?
Ohio.
So you grew
I
up
I
with
I
your
was born in
mom.
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Why he was traveling with my mom and doing the wrestling thing, and he was actually in Georgia. Well, he was in Japan, and then he got back into Georgia, and then he learned that I was born in Tennessee because he came back to Knoxville to wrestle. The doctor and the nurse became my godparents. They were actually married, and they became my godparents. They were really cool. To this day, they're still really sweet. They remember my dad. Always like shook the room anywhere he went because he was just booming and boisterous. And if you know my dad, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But after that, he was in and out of my life. The last time I saw him was age of 12. Well, I can't say the last time, as a kid, I guess, because I ended up going to his birthday here in Ohio. He had retirement, or he retired from wrestling in Mason County. And we went down. My oldest was 5 or 6, and my youngest was like 9 months. And we got a hold of the guy who was doing it, Scott Spears, and I was like, "Hey, look, can I surprise this man?" And he was like, "Well, who are you? What kind of surprise do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I'm his daughter." I said, "I haven't seen him since I was 12, and I'm in my 30s at that point." And I was like, "So I'd like to surprise my dad." So he's like, "Yep." He's like, "I'll put you in a special room." He said, "We'll bring you out. You can walk around the building." And I got to hear some wrestlers talk, and they were like, "Well, who are you? Are you wrestling tonight?" "No, you're all fancy. You ain't getting in that ring." And I'm like, "No, I'm Mox Baker's daughter." And they were like, "Oh shit, we can't talk to you. We'll get our ass beat. Who'll hard punch us?" And it was cool. Um, so I got to introduce him to his grandbabies at that point,
Aw.
and his health was really bad. He said that the diabetes was kicking in, something was going on with his kidneys. He wasn't 100% sure. He talked about having taken in 2 people after his wife, Peggy, passed. I'm not going to say their name. We're just going to call them caretakers. I'll be nice about it till a certain point in this whole conversation. The caretakers he took in, they were homeless and they lived in the woods behind his house. And for whatever reason, my dad felt sorry. So he took them in, and it became apparent as time went on that they weren't good people. They were drug addicts, crackheads. They stole money, his items, and sold it all for drugs. And when I say dark things, they would give him some sad story. They were broke and they were trying to get back on their feet. So my dad was like, "Okay, well, I'm selling my farm in Missouri," and family members were involved in that. And apparently he got quite a bit of money, and they took $20,000 of that money and they went and bought crack and cocaine and probably heroin or something of that nature. I don't know. I know crack and cocaine was main source because that's what I was told. They wanted 20,000 of it to be flipped, and they wanted somebody else to go buy weed so they could sell weed and flip that money to get him money. And the guy told him no. He said, he reached out to a friend of his and he told him no. He said, "Ox, I'm not going to do that." He said, "You're more respectful than that." He was like, "These people are just out their minds." So they took that money, and I don't know what happened to it. The family member that was involved in the sale of the farm, they were supposed to buy my dad a restaurant for him to cook. Because if you know my dad, he loved to cook. I don't know what happened to that. As time went on, he reached out to many sources for things, and he was selling things or giving things away, such as belts and plaques and awards. And, he would show up to sign pictures for people. And even up here in Mason, when he retired, he had me and his granddaughter go around and sell tickets because he was auctioning off a robe of his. And my son wore that robe and held his belt for pictures with him. But they had us go around and, sell tickets for somebody to win the robe. And then he had to give all the profits, the proceeds of that robe to these people because they were his caretakers. But I don't know what care that they did do for him other than keep him company. They more or less like sold him is what I want to say. They took him to people saying, hey, we'll set you up with Ox Baker. He'll come and he'll sign whatever, he'll sell whatever, do whatever. I mean, it was just sick and twisted. Now, I don't want anybody to think I didn't try to do anything because I had a backing of a lot of people. I was actually in touch with one of his promoters. His name is John Kelleher. And he was like, hey, your dad really needs help. You need to talk to my wife. You need to do something or help do something. And I said, I don't know what I can do because at that time my brother was alive. And I reached out to Garen, and Garen was like, hey, listen, if you go down there and dad's in a bad situation, he's like, I'll believe you. We'll do something. We'll take action, whatever. And I would have to say maybe 2.5 months before he actually passed, I did go down with my mom, my boys, and a friend of mine that was related to my youngest son. And I was like, listen, I need somebody that will protect us because I heard that they were poisoning my dad's food, which rat poison was found 5 different times in his blood. They were putting it in the IVs or the food that he was eating. When we were there, I literally watched my dad eat food and spit it out because he's like, it tastes weird. It tastes funny. Go ahead. He told my mom, go ahead and try this. And my mom's like, no, I don't want to taste it. She said, we ate before we got here, which we did because we were already warned that they could try to do something. And of course, I had 2 little kids at that time, and I didn't want them to get poisoned or eat something because I was afraid. So we loaded up with snacks and our own drinks, and we ate before we got there. But he was spitting out a salmon patty or some kind of fish that she cooked, and she wasn't paying attention. And she kept insisting on taking my boys out to go swim. And I said, no, they're too young. I'm like, they're going to stay inside. They're going to stay where I can see them. My little one was just starting to walk. And at that time also, my dad was going from a person like us talking to the wrestler. And he was screaming and yelling like he was going to heart punch my kids, heart punch me. Then he would talk so sweetly to my mom. And he'd be like, well, why isn't our daughter in a dress? My daughter always wears dresses. And she's like, well, she said, it's 110 degrees in Connecticut. She goes, she has shorts and a tank top. And she's like, it's okay, Ox, it's okay. And he's like, no, I want my daughter in a dress. And he would say, hey, why don't you run to Walmart and go buy you a dress? You wear dresses. And I'm like, no, Dad, I'm going to wear this. I said, I'm hot enough. I said, I just wanted to come spend time with you. Well, in the same time, they went outside. They probably got high or whatever. The gentleman that was with me, his name is Tony. He said, man, he said, keep those kids inside. She just stripped butt ass naked and walked to the pool. Like, he's like, I don't get this. He's like, there's neighbors. Does she not care? He's like, she's nasty. I was like, oh, good and gravy. I'm like, okay. Well, they did leave for an hour. They left me alone with him for an hour.
I don't think she can hear me.
And my dad said, listen, he said, I don't know what's left of any of my stuff. He said, go in my bedroom and take whatever you can take, whatever you want. So I was looking for pictures of him, of my family, because a lot of stuff was hidden. I was a hidden gem, like my sister, because there's another daughter. So I was looking for pictures just to connect dots at that time because I hadn't reached out to anybody but my brother. So I took 6 shirts, a bunch of pictures. I took some trinkets of my dad's that there was like a mug with his picture and it said Foxy Oxy on it. And I have it in my kitchen and it holds stuff in it. But I just took little trinkets of stuff. And by the time like it got later in the day, he was getting agitated over something and it wasn't going his way. And I basically left saying some harsh words to him. And the next thing I know, I get a phone call from my brother, and the gentleman caretaker called him and said that I robbed my dad's house blind. And I said, really? I said, Garen, I said, I can show you what's in my trunk right now. I can guarantee you what was said to me because I have it on a recording that dad said, go find whatever you want to take and take. And I said, I took a couple pictures of when he was in military school because he did go to like a behavioral school. I took, trinkets of stuff that people had made because I didn't know what was going to happen to it. And I said, nothing of like super value that I could see was there. Like he wanted my son to have the belt. The belt was in the car that they were driving, so I couldn't grab that. I said, I don't have nothing but shirts. So Garen was like, well, I don't believe him anyways. And he said they at the end asked for money. And I said, okay. I said, well, I said, do with what you want. I said, but all the allegations that people have come to me about, I said, they're true. And he goes, okay. He said, well, I'll call you in a couple days. He said, I'll let you drive home because we drove there. And he was like, I'll get a hold of you later. I said, okay. Well, he never got a hold of me. I could never get a hold of him. So I don't know. My brother drank a lot. My brother was lost in his own thoughts. And he kind of blamed me for the whole existing part of this whole thing. But, some wrestlers, like I say with my sister, they partied like rock stars. They hid secrets. I was a secret. My sister was a secret. When he passed, it was somebody else who wanted to use his name or just exploit him or something of that nature. But I found out through Facebook when he passed. And I had posted something on a tribute page that a friend of his made. And there was people claiming, well, this is so-and-so's dad and this is so-and-so's father. And I know it's their father, blah, blah, blah. And I got really pissed off and I said, hold up. I said, there's only one son and one daughter that I know of. Because I could honestly say that at that point, I didn't know I had a sister. She reached out to me and she said, hey, I need to get a hold of you. She said, and I need to talk to you with your mother. And I said, okay. So we exchanged phone numbers. We talked for about maybe 4 to 5 hours that night. And her name is Stephanie. She lives in Georgia. It lines up to where my mom and him were in Tennessee, and he was going back between Georgia and Tennessee wrestling. And it just came about that she is legit my dad's daughter. She's older than me, so that makes me the baby. So I guess I'm the brat. But unlike her, though, my brother and me both have our birth certificate signed. She does not. He told her his whole life that he was not going to sign the birth certificate. He would rather have his career than have another child. And that he was going to have other people watch her. And he did. He knew about her 4 kids and he knew where she lived in Georgia and all kinds of things. She talked to him once in her whole entire life that he was alive. She wrote to him once and explained herself, explained all her kids, and that was really about it. So we each have backgrounds of trauma dealing with our father. At any rate, when my dad passed and before he passed, I tried to get a hold of social services. Mary and John did the same. Other people tried to call people, but as long as my dad could say, hey, my name is Douglas or Ox, they just left it alone. Nobody did anything. The reports that were given to somebody stated that there was high volumes of rat poison at least 5 times in his blood system that ultimately caused his heart attack. So yes, he died of a heart attack, but it wasn't natural causes. He was murdered by these 2 crackheads that he took in to be his caretakers. Amongst all that I did not know, not until later and recently, was known that the one guy turned on him and he actually tied my father and the other girl, the other caretaker, to a chair, broke plates and cups over his head, busted 3 of his ribs, broke his wrist, demanded him to call somebody to get $4,000 to feed their need of drugs. And until he got that, they were basically tortured. They were, yes, removed from his house 2 to 3 different times. The one was arrested 2 or 3 different times, but my dad kept letting him back in because he was lonely. He didn't want to be in the house by himself. And, he started losing motor functions, couldn't walk, couldn't really, go to a shower and take care of him that way. So I'm hoping deep down that they did do something other than beat the crap out of him and murder him. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand people like that. To me, they're monsters. They also had him go to one of his buddies' restaurants, and he would just sit there for hours, sign autograph after autograph. And the guy would pay him for being there, and whatever he made, he turned over to these people. Every time my dad got a letter in the mail or a card from a child or somebody else saying, they're so sorry, if they put $50 or even $20 in it, those people would already have his mail open and say, well, no, there's only but a card in there. There's no money, because they would take that money. And then he'd be like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Please don't beat me up. Please don't hurt me. He begged these people. I did a GoFundMe, and I was able to raise a little over $4,000. I still have the receipts that I paid on his electric and his gas. And they demanded, if I didn't turn over the rest of the money that I had, they were actually going to call Connecticut's local authorities and tell them that I was stealing money from my father. And I was like, you got me bent. I was like, I paid the bills. I have the receipts. I have the people I talked to. I have basically a paper train. And I said, come at me, because you can't. When he did pass, I did go to the funeral with my sister, my children, my mother. I had a bunch of people, because through John and Mary, I met Top of the Rope reporter guy and his friends, and they all swore to protect me. I got phone calls and threats that if I didn't hand over money, or if I didn't do something, that, they would do something to me. And I said, okay. And then the one female, she said, well, if you come here, she said, you're you're on America's Most Wanted for Connecticut. And I said, oh, okay. And at that time, she didn't know that I had already talked to the captain of police and that we already had something set up. So when I went to the funeral, there was actually 5 undercover cars there with police officers in the crowd. The lady and the gentleman who were saying things about my father tripped over the CD, and that was my cue to take over the funeral. So I took over the funeral, and I said my stories about my dad making butterfly cookies at my grandma's house, and just how he was a gentle giant, kind soul, liked to scare people, but was like the biggest, softest teddy bear that there was. And they still had his car, and they were still driving it, and they were mad because I had told John, Mary, and the other people that I was involved in, I was like, give me cards right in front of them. I don't want no money. I said, I'm never about the money, but put stories in there. I said, I don't care if it's something silly, stupid, or just something sentimental that you want me to know about my father. I said, but give me cards. Don't even go to like Walmart. Go to the Dollar Tree, get me cards. I said, make sure you do it right in front of her and him. And I said, just make sure you give me cards. And they did. I had about a stack of maybe 20 or 30. And one of the people that were supposed to be on my side turned, and he went and stood on their side because he thought I was in there for the money, which there was no money in them. There were stories, good stories, heartfelt stories. But they got pissed off after seeing all these cards in my hand. And as we were closing up, we kind of held back. And the police chief came and he shook my hand and he goes, "What a bunch of fucking idiots." He's like, "Do you want to see fireworks?" And I said, "Sure. What kind of fireworks?" Because I'm in. I pissed him off. That's what I came to do. Because he's my daddy and they're not nothing to him. The one female tried to say that her daughter was his daughter. And I said, "Honey, she looks nothing like a baker. Bye. Get out of there. Get out of here with this shit." So he was like telling John, he goes, "Take him over here," which was like some strip mall. And he said, "Get out." He said, "Give us about 10 minutes." And he goes, "Watch the fireworks." So that's what we did. We went to the strip and we were watching them. They got them pulled over because the tags were expired. They didn't have the title. So they impounded my dad's car right in front of us. So we cheered on the side of the road because we were like, "Hey, it got taken away." So, and like I said, this is just insane. But, you know, at the calling hours in the wake, I told my mom, I was like, "You know what?" I said, "I don't know really what is going to happen with his ashes." I said, "I should have taken them. I should have taken them because I have the rights to them." But in the same sense, my brother had told them that he was paying for my dad's cremation and that half of him was supposed to go to Missouri to be buried with his first wife. Half of him was supposed to stay in Connecticut. Well, recently somebody posted about my dad's ashes and I actually have them now. But I had told her then I wanted to take them. And she said, "You really can't." She said, "You don't want to press buttons because we already got the car taken away." So we ended up going to the wake. And sides were drawn. People switched sides because they thought I had all this money in these cards. And I kept laughing. I was like, "These people are nuts. Like, people really think it's just about the money." I said, "All I wanted to do was spend more time with my dad and hopefully have him meet my sister." And I said, it got taken away by these people. And then these other people, you know, they feel sad for him because they were like, "Oh, she got 30 cards and it's all this money. It's all this money." And like, I almost got in the girl's face twice and I kept getting turned around. They're like, "No, no, you can't heart punch this person. You can't, you got kids. We don't want you in jail, but we'll bail you out." But, you know, and I was just like, well, the funeral's over. We're at the wake. And I just really want to tell her how I feel. But I never got a chance to. After the wake, we went back to the hotel. John and Mary stayed with us. They read stories with us out of the cards. We tried to get the police to let me in his house because I was going after pictures and things that I thought would be something cool to have. Because, like, if anybody knows my dad, they know that he could do the Rubik's Cube in less than 3 minutes. Should be in the book of world records or Genesis world records. But, you know, I just wanted sentimental things that I thought that would be cool to say, "Hey, this was Grandpa's prized possession." Nothing related to wrestling, just something of Grandpa's for my kids. And she had called Mary and she told Mary, she said, "Well," she said, "you chose the dark side." And she goes, "Now everybody's going to suffer." She said, "All the pictures that she wanted, that Megan wanted," which she meant me, "all the books that you wanted," because Mary wanted his books. They used to read books together. She said, "They're in the back and they're burning." She said, "That's your last fuck off." She said, "Anything you think that was there at the house," she said, "it's gone. It's burning." And they had no rights to the house. They made up a fake will. And there was 5 wills at the time. Like I said, I was supposed to own half of the farmhouse with Garen. And I was supposed to have 2.5 acres of land. My mom was supposed to have land. And then, you know, there was a new will done when he was married to Peggy and it got stolen in New York. And then there was a 3rd will with Peggy and a 4th. And then the 5th will, the crackhead made up and she had my dad sign, or it was forged. I don't know. But he supposedly gave her the house and the land and the bank wasn't having it. And I know they harassed my brother quite a bit about getting him out of the house. And he said, "It's out of my hands." He goes, "You guys fail to realize there's a piece of paper that's his will." And he was like, "So you guys deal with it." So apparently in 2016, They left. She had a friend, the crackhead had a friend, and I guess she gave him the ashes. And she said that he had no family members and she didn't know how to get a hold of anybody, and that he was to be buried next to Peggy, which was his second wife. And this gentleman held on to my father's ashes until about 2 weeks ago. Um, so that has led me on this crazy journey of trying to preserve his name, save a legacy, remember a legacy, because, I've been told by many that he was the greatest heel ever in wrestling. Nobody can match him, nobody can top him. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, I guess.
Okay, Megan, let me ask you a question. Now, you had told me, we had a very long conversation on the phone before all this. I didn't know every single thing that you're saying, but your dad suffered at one point from dementia and Alzheimer's at the same time. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And were at that moment, I know you told me that when those people that were supposed to be taking care of him were arrested at first, they were arrested and taken out of the house. The fact that he was so terrified of them, that's why he let them come back. And he said, yeah, it's okay to let them back. And when they were let back in, they abused him on a regular basis. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe you also said that aside from the rat poison, there were other drugs in his system. Am I correct in saying that?
I don't know the full extent to it. I think there was, but I don't know everything. They were more concerned with the rat poison because there was an overage, I guess, of it, and that they could tell that's what basically gave him the heart attack. I didn't get the full report because they had power of attorney that my brother signed over to them. I did not.
So he also, at this point, he was like involved with these people out of the kindness of his heart, but then it turned into something evil and very dark.
Yes.
At any point, did he ever tell anybody that he was scared? He was afraid of them, and
I believe so, but they couldn't get him out because every time they would do a wellness check or a health check, he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine."
And like you said, the fact that he still knew his name was enough for them to say he had his head on straight at that point. You have to bear with us a little bit because it's difficult for us to imagine somebody of the stature and popularity of Ox Baker, just his size and everything else alone, it was reduced to being abused, by these people. And I'm sorry that, unfortunately, as you have told me, they're probably still running free because, as I said, we can't mention any names, but I got to tell you, honestly, I don't know how you are not in jail. I mean, I know you have kids, but I'm just saying if it was, the first thing everybody says, is if it was me, I'd kill him. But,
yeah.
You don't really do that. You know what I'm saying? It's like a verbiage that everybody says. And in reality, he was a very, very, very kind man. And earlier this evening, I spoke to you and your mom, who was never married to him. Am I correct in saying that?
Correct. He asked her a few times to marry him, and she said no.
And she said no because of the wrestling experience, the wrestling world, the wrestling life, and can't blame her for that because I also said no to a wrestler who proposed to me years ago for that same reason. But it's so hard for us to understand, and this has got to be killing you. It's got to be breaking your heart. I can't even imagine, honestly, what you're going through or what you've been through. I know that you have done signings. I know that you have gone on cons. I know that you have gone, other places as his daughter, to promote him and to. And I know you have been wanting to tell your story, for so long. What made you decide to come here to tell your story?
Well, you reached out to me because I said, wait a minute, that's not his birthday. We had to correct that. His birthday is April 19th. What's funny is my sister And her one son is one day and one day after his birthday. They're surrounded on all sides of his birthday. And I feel sometimes that people use and abuse my dad. And I don't know. It's probably like the baker in me, my mom tells me, because she's more timid, laid back. And I'm just like, really, whatever. I'm more like truth spoken. I had to speak my
Mhm.
truth. And that
Exactly.
was to tell you, hey, listen, this is his birthday. He's this old.
Well, no, it's
Not
funny.
being mean about it
No,
at
no,
all.
not at all, not at all. That's why I said that in the beginning because, as I was telling Jeannie in the beginning of this incident, this show before we brought you on, that I was saying exactly that, like who are you or whatever. But and I did reach out to you.
Yes.
I asked you about the podcast, and but you said to me, if I'm not mistaken, that you couldn't find anybody, or you didn't know how to go about telling your truth, or to get on a podcast or a show of some kind where you
Yeah,
could.
I was on a couple podcasts, but they wanted more or less for me to talk about wrestling, and I was like, well, honestly, I'm not stupid, but I'm stupid when it comes to wrestling. Like I know people, I know what they did, I know how my dad did what he did, I know who he's trained. A little bit about that. Like, I mean, he's trained The Undertaker, he's trained Hogan. He's the only one in WWF history to throw Andre the Giant over the top rope. My mom has played cards with all these men, even Roddy Piper. I mean, I've heard those kind of stories, but I can't tell you, yeah, like my dad did this, and yeah, he's the biggest, baddest villain out there. I mean, I've heard stories. I do know that two men have died in the ring. I know
Exactly.
he started a riot in Cleveland. I think I was there for one of them because I know there was a big old fight, and I remember, as a little girl, getting set down in the front row, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna come out this door. You watch me. I'm gonna throw my shirt at you, and you can catch Daddy's shirt." I said, "Okay." Well, then some guy came, and he was like, "You're in my seat, and this is me in my kid's seat." Blah blah blah. And my dad whipped around. He goes, "Are you yelling at my daughter?" And he goes, "Oh." He's like, "Your daughter?" He goes, "Does she want cotton candy and do you want her to have popcorn and a drink?" He goes, "Whatever. You can sit there. Can my son sit beside?" Like he totally changed his demeanor. And then the other guy came out, ripped off his shirt to shreds, and then they were in the bleachers fighting, and my dad's head got cut open. Like that's the only kind of stories that I know is just a little bit of this and that. I don't know like the history of anything other than what I already just told you about who he's trained. He also trained Brian Clark. He was the Night Stalker. My mom and I made his first ever costume when he was brought out to the WCW. He's known as Adam Bomb right now, and I still have conversations and talks with him. And every now and again, he'll be like, "Hey, I miss Dad," and I'm like, "Yeah, I do too." And he
You see,
tells me, my dad did do a lot of stuff. He was an advocate and a spokesperson for Toys for Tots. He did a lot of stuff for the humane societies and stuff. So I've kind of talked it over with my husband and my kids, and I was like, "Hey, we'll rotate this because my church is called Hope Outreach, and we help everybody and anybody, and we have a bunch of kids, and they come from all different backgrounds, and I would rather put money into our church and into our local humane society or our animal shelters." So I always have like a bucket that says either Hope's Kids or help our local shelters, just because I think that's honoring my father.
exactly. Tell us about the meeting you had with Hulk Hogan.
Oh, my kids think I'm crazy, guys. Okay. So, there's big posters everywhere in Giant Eagles up at the strip. I live in Canton. I probably shouldn't really say that, but I live in Canton. It's at the strip, and there was big posters, Hulk Hogan, Hogan Maniacs coming. It's free, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, my dad trained this man. I actually went in and I explained who I was, and I showed paperwork. I was like, "Can I set up the table? Can I come meet Hogan? Can we do something special? Because it will be special." I can share pictures with you later of it, but we waited for 4 hours outside of Giant Eagles in this long line. And I brought this. This is
Okay.
what I brought for Hogan. This is actually my dad's cookbook.
Aw.
So it's Ox Baker's cookbook. It's a tribute to the fallen warriors.
Aw.
So everybody who he wrestled with that he knew at the time, like Glorious George, Buddy Rogers, Andre the Giant is in here. He made literally a list of things that they liked that he might have cooked for them.
Aw, that's so nice.
And all the recipes are in here with some pictures and stuff. And I do sell these because I got the copyright, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I
Good.
took this out there, and this guy was like, listen, you have to buy the American beer. And he's like, that's the only thing Hogan's going to sign. And I was like, well, what if I don't want him to sign this? What if I just want to show him this? And he goes, well, who is this guy to Hogan and you? And I had to explain to the guy. He goes, man, he said, I'm so sorry. He said, I have to stay by your family. He goes, I want to see what Hogan does when you tell Hogan. So I have a jacket that I wear, and it has Ox on the sleeve. It has a big old picture of my dad on the back. So I had that, and it was like 80 degrees out, but I wore it just because. When we got in there, Hogan was like, well, what do you have? He's like, what's in your hand? And I showed him the cover, and I said, do you know this man? And he goes, hell yeah, I know this man. He goes, he was a really cool dude. And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, how do you know this guy? And I said, well, this is my father. He goes, you're shitting me. He's like, you're shitting me. He goes, this man trained me. And I said, and I know. And I said, and you're the reason. I said, LOL, don't take it offensively, but you're the reason why Vince hasn't put my dad in the Hall of Fame, because you guys were put together in a wrestling match after my dad trained you for $10,000. And my dad told Vince McMahon that he wasn't going to throw the match. He said, I'm not going to have some newbie come in here and beat my ass. He said, you got me bent. And Hogan laughed hysterically. He goes, you're right. And I said, my mom to this day still has that article about it, like old school wrestling of Vince pissed off at Ox Baker, Baker's cruisers into it. My mom still has all that. And I'm just like, I just wanted to come meet you. I said, because I've heard, who my dad has trained. I said, you knew my dad. I said, it's so cool to know all these people who have known my dad. And he goes, man, I just have to hug you. And I said, okay. And I said, I hung out with your daughter, Brooke. She was out here a couple years ago when she was trying to get her singing off. And I said, I hung out with her when Matt Patrick, he was a DJ host for 98.1. He was out there and he thought he was special because he was hanging out with two gorgeous girls and they're wrestling daughters of wrestling. And he's like, I can make something of this, and Hogan laughed. And then he asked me who the boys were, and I introduced my sons. And of course, we weren't supposed to have anything else. My kids had made me go find WWF SummerSlam because it was in Cleveland. They came out with a Prime. So I had to go to 6 stores to find 2 bottles of Prime. My oldest snuck it in, and he's like, can you sign this? So Hogan signed his Prime bottle. And of course, that threw my little one in a fit. But we just had like a moment and nobody interrupted it because it was like somebody comes up there, you got to go. Okay, you shook his hand, you got a signature, you got to go. It took like 20 minutes. He was just a decent human being. I know there's a lot of controversial stuff out there, but Hogan's just a decent human being. And he had love for my father. And he said, I'm sorry to hear about, him dying of a heart attack. And I was like, well, I said, if you really knew the truth. And he goes, no, you better tell me. And I said, well, he was murdered. In my eyes, he was murdered. And he was floored. He was like, oh, this pisses me off. So I had given him, and my husband had wrote my name, my number, but I had made these. I got these made of my dad. And I have these for sale too. But it has a little information of my dad. And I gave one to Hogan and I said, well, here, you can have this. And he was like, oh my gosh. He's like, I feel honored. He was like, out of all this, he said, I feel honored just meeting you. And he just kept just saying, man, he said, this just made my day.
That's really nice.
Wow.
Let me ask you a question. If anybody wants that cookbook, how would they get that? How would they just go through Facebook to get a hold of you?
Yep, it's through Facebook. My son is going to help. They're off next week, both my kids, for spring break. My son's going to actually have me put it on Kickstarter, because I also have, this was made of my dad. I love to hurt
Oh,
people.
wow.
His famous phrase, I love to hurt people, right? But somebody
That
made
is
this comic book of
beautiful.
him. So my son was like, you know what? He said, if you get on Kickstarter, you can put it there. And he was like, and put the comic book with it, have it in a bundle, which I've sold a few here, a few there. Sorry, overheated.
That's
But
okay.
he wants to help me do that. I kind of want to get it on Amazon. I do take it to shows. And if you don't mind, like, I wrote stuff down while I was listening to you guys talk, and you guys were expressing shows, which I reached out to Joe Hirschenberger, and it's for Dylan's fundraiser for autism, and that is happening very soon. And they're going to have Scotty Riggs and Baby Doll, which I met Baby
Oh,
Doll in
wow.
Chillicothe
Yeah, she's great. She
last
was on our
year.
show. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, tickets are a great price. Like, they're $15 at the door, $10 early advance, and this is March 29th, and it's at Fairless High School. I'll be there with all my dad's merch. I've made buttons and, T-shirts, tumblers, and a very special things happening in April too, which I'll get to that too. But also, in April, we were invited April 12th for the Wildfire Championship Heroes and Legends. It's a fundraiser to help the Kentucky flooding. And Big
Oh,
Tony Rich and somebody else reached out to me and said, hey, can you just come and show up? There's going to be people here that want to meet you. Bill Atner's going to be there.
wow. Okay.
The gentleman, and I always say his name wrong because I'm bad with names, so forgive me, but the guy who broke my dad's teeth in a ring, like forever and a day ago, probably before I was born, he's going to be there. And they told him, hey, Ox's daughter's coming. He's like, oh, I got to meet her.
Do you
And
remember
you can look
anything
it up
about
on
his name?
YouTube.
Do you remember anything about his name? Maybe we can help you.
Ronnie Garveston,
Oh,
something.
Garvin. Ronnie Garvin.
Yes.
Oh my God, that was the Hands of Stone. Yeah, I believe you. All right. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
he broke my dad's false teeth, and my dad was on. There's a video on YouTube where he's like, "I'm coming after you. I wanted to eat a steak, and you broke my teeth, and blah blah blah." Like,
I
it's on
remember that
YouTube.
now. You know what? That sounds so familiar to me now. I remember that.
Yep.
Oh my
And
God.
then because Bobby Folden reached out to me, and we were in Chillicothe last year. Well, Herb Sivens, he reached out to me afterwards, and he was like, why don't you come to my fan fest? May 17th, I'll be in St. Louis. And that's where my mom comes in, because she was in St. Louis and she and my dad got shot at. So that's why she doesn't like to go to
Oh, wait a
places.
minute. Yeah, tell us about that. What happened? Was that at a wrestling match?
Yeah, it was after the wrestling match. I don't know what it was about, but there was somebody who had a gun and shot at them.
Oh my God.
I don't really know the details. Like, see, that's where.
I want to ask you a question real quick.
Okay.
You had told me before that you wanted, you were looking forward to meeting Andre the Giant's daughter.
Yes.
Have you ever been able to reach out to her yet?
No.
How about if we can try? We'll try, but how about if we can try to reach out to her and see?
Oh my God, that would be a dream come true.
I would like to try that for you, Megan, because I got to be honest with you. Hearing this story again, it literally breaks my heart. It totally does, that people like that even exist.
Yeah.
But what happened to your father? What happened to that icon of a man and how he was treated is not only unfair, it's brutal and it's cruel.
Yeah.
Did you obviously you took this to the police and your thoughts?
I did. The police were aware of this, but they were like, he keeps letting them back in. We can't do a restraining order. We can't stop it. They had called services on them too, but every time they went out, as long as my dad said he was okay, his name was either Douglas or Ox, they were like, there's nothing we can do. And I begged my brother to do something. And I was like, my whole life, like I said again, like I'm backtracking and I probably left this out, and I know I did. But when I was there the first time in Connecticut, when he was still alive, his arms were black. And I mean, like really black. Just like this ribbon here. His arms were this black because like he was really sick and they just didn't do anything for him. And I was like, how's this man even breathing? Because from his arm here all the way down, and there's actually pictures probably I could pull up on Facebook or on YouTube or Google or even because they were posted everywhere of how he looked, how sickly he looked. But when they had left for that hour, I looked through his phone and I actually, because he had told me and he had told my mom that everybody was dead on the Baker side of the family. Well, I had took his phone and me being nosy and me being me, I looked through the phone and there was a Donnie Baker or Donald Baker. That was my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And I had reached out to him and he didn't understand because he was older. They were all in their 80s and stuff. And I actually talked to his wife and then I talked to his daughter, and she had to call my brother and say, hey, this girl, just like you, is claiming to be, you know, your dad's daughter. And he goes, yeah. He said, yeah, that's my sister. And she goes, well, Garen, why haven't you ever told us this? Why haven't you ever spoke that you have a sister? And he goes, it just never came to mind. And he goes, I think it's disrespectful for my mom that my dad did this. And then they learned about Stephanie and they were just like, well, whatever, you know, you're Baker, you're part of us. So they actually had a family reunion and I got to go to Iowa and I got to meet the whole Baker side. Well, not everybody. I missed one uncle. He wasn't able to come. I met my one aunt and then I met two of my uncles. And then I met a whole crap load of cousins. And I fell in love with all of them.
That's good. That's like awesome to hear that you were able to do this. How many siblings are there? How many children did Ox have?
As far as I know personally, 3. But me and my brother Garen are the only 2 children that have been, and like I don't know the right word, but we're the only ones that have the signature on our birth certificates. My sister Stephanie does not, but Stephanie could be his twin. She almost heard.
Yeah, I saw her.
She almost heart punched a man because he told her, "Well, if you shave your head, you got the eyebrows and the forehead," and he's like, "You look like Ox." And she goes, "Well, gee, thanks, because you know she's a girl, she's female."
Yeah.
I don't think you should say that, but you know he said it. I don't think he meant any harm, though.
No, of course not. But like I said to you, even I didn't mean any harm. I just said that you have features. I mean, you do. It's not like, you know, you shave your head.
The eyebrows give it away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But let me ask you a question. Speaking of eyebrows, are you aware or do you remember, do you know how his look came about? I mean, I get the mustache, the Fu Manchu. How about the eyebrows? How did that all come to play? Did he just?
They were all natural. They were all natural, really? As far as I know.
Wow.
I think maybe he trained them that way. I don't know, but he never like curled them or made them go that way. I just remember him all the time just looking that way.
Now I saw a picture of him before he a while before he passed, and he had like longer hair in the back. He just always shaved his head, like he wasn't like bald naturally. He just shaved his head like that.
I remember my mom shaving his head. I still remember him with no hair when he passed.
I'll have to show you that picture I found.
Oh, I don't have any. Recent like older pictures of my dad, except for this one. This is actually his ashes. But as you can see, like how dark his arms were.
Yeah.
They were much darker than that, but like he still had, you know, the bald head and everything else going on.
You showed me a picture, Megan, of your, and this is something that I didn't. Sometimes I told you on the phone I'm not really good at putting pictures up yet. On the feed here. My friend Bay is going to teach me how to do that, and I discussed that with you, but. You showed me a picture of you holding his hand toward the end of his life. He was in a bed, in like a hospital bed. And
yes.
You were holding his hand. If I can get that up on the feed here at some point. Would you be okay with the fact if I showed it, even if you weren't on at that moment?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I'd like to ask you maybe if you could come back another time when I can upload a bunch of pictures, and we can go over them and discuss them, because this is the only picture I could actually get, because when you put it up, you have to mess with it, and you have to make it a certain way. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to do that while I was talking to you. I also did download the picture that you sent me of you and your mom and dad.
Yeah.
But again, it's too big to put up here. If I put it up, it's just a blank screen. So I'm going to get that fixed up, and I'm going to, Bay, when you listen to this, let's get moving. I need to learn how to do that stuff. But definitely, I want to put the pictures up. I want to, talk about more of this stuff with you.
Carmela, what about the other podcast that you had done? I don't know if it's something that he would do, or I mean, I would assume he would. But Lee, the Wrestling with the Devil.
I talked to her about Lee.
Oh, okay.
I talked to her. Remember, I mentioned Lee Cole, and I told you that his brother committed suicide because he was involved in what they called the Ring Boy scandal with Vince and Linda McMahon. I told you about that, and I was going to hook you up with him. Do you remember that? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. Ian was asking about the podcast because he can't find the email. So it's okay
Oh,
though.
I sent it to him again. The first time it came back undeliverable because I put 09 instead of 07 instead of 97. But I did send it back again. I could send it again if he wants.
It's okay. I don't.
Sure. I mean, when you come back one, we'll let him come back one. I really did send it though.
No, I believe you. I believe you. It's just probably a glitch in the system. But I mean, after, shedding all this darkness and getting the truth out, like I said, I had people reach out to me, and there's a toy company, and I'm working with them, and it was announced, and I think it's okay to announce it. But in April, pre-sales will start for his dolls to come back out.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
That's great. Oh my God, I gotta get one.
Greg Gagne also reached out to me. I actually talked to Greg Gagne, and Powerhouse Toys, they're going to do his figure too. I don't know what's happening with that, but I just know that in April, the pre-sales will come out for my dad. And the gentleman who is doing this for the toy company that is doing it, he also helped me get the rights to my father's name, image, and anything that has to do with my father. So I wanted to show this too, just because this is brand new seal of approval, I guess. Wow. That I have the trademark for my dad. So I have the right to preserve his image.
That is wonderful. Dear God. And you know what? I'm going to say this publicly because you told me how much you struggled to get this stuff. Jeannie, this young lady has gone over and above. She has contacted person after person, publication after publication. She has been on a rampage for years now to try because so many people have been stealing his stuff and stealing his image and stealing, and I was telling you that we had Harley Race's son on here, Justin Race, and he was telling us as well about people who were trying to say they were related or stealing an image or whatever of his father. But
there's nobody out there in relation to my father. Nobody in relation that is wrestling under my dad's name. No blood ties, no nothing. There's another person that is in Connecticut, and he has ties in with the wrestling world, but he does other things too. And I didn't mention this on the phone. But, he used to wear a name or a vest with my dad's name on it and said, this is my best friend. People used my dad so bad. It just irked me to pieces, pissed me off. Let's just be frank. Just Ox Baker was my best friend, or I was friends with Ox Baker. I'm doing this in his honor. And they were all a part of that world of crack-headed people that took advantage of my father. Some of the other people were not, but they just wanted to use his likeness or use him to where they can make money. And I was told by the Russian brute, may he rest in peace. He acted like my dad. He was very funny, very sweet man, kind. He loved my kids. He always would call and check on them. But he'd be like, you got to calm down on some things. And he's like, you got to tell people, whatever they want to hear. And I said, I'm not made to lie. I'm like, my mom raised me right. I said, I'm not going to say this person is related to me when they're not.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that. I have one brother and I think he deserves that respect more than somebody I don't know. And, things just are whatever things and it just happened like that. But, anybody who asks me who this person is or who this person is, they're not nothing. They're no blood ties to us.
Well, I'm going to make that announcement again. There's nobody, for everybody listening, there is no relation, real, honest to God, blood relation to Ox Baker in the wrestling world. So just keep that in mind. He was a one and only. His children are not wrestlers, okay? So just keep that in mind. His brothers and sisters are not wrestlers.
No, none of them. I mean, my son, he's 11. Jax, he wrestles for school, but it's
Right.
different than WWF.
Well,
Like
yeah,
it might be
of course.
WWF in my house with his brother and him, but no, nothing in the ring.
No, nothing in the ring. But let me ask you a question now. Do you feel better at all that you were able to get this out in any capacity?
Yeah, it feels like there's some weight off. I
Good.
mean,
I'm
I
glad.
just, I have no trust in people and I just have to, press my issue of, yeah, I'm Ox's daughter. I can prove it to you 12 ways sideways. I have the same blood type too, but I don't want to do that. But it's just a sigh of relief to actually say and be 100% truthful. My dad was murdered. My dad did not die a natural death. He was taken advantage of. He was beat, abused, and robbed in my eyes. And me
That's
taking
awful.
t-shirts and little trinkets of my father was not robbing my father.
No.
And all by rights, and it might sound selfish, but it's really not. Our family should have those. My children should have those. My sister should have those. Her children should have something.
Exactly. And, I think it's important for us, like, and I told you this before. I am not out to, Jeannie and I are not out to make money off of this or anything like that. If we were, we wouldn't even have you on the way you want to speak. I mean, like I told you on the phone, I was not going to badger you. Let's put it that way. I mean,
No.
I've been known to be mouthy a little bit, but not to badger anybody. And I wasn't going to do that to you. I was going to let you speak your truth and get it out, and that's it. But I will tell you this, okay? The Rasslin Radio Relived podcast will do its best to try to find Andre's daughter. I believe her name is Robin.
Yes.
And we will try to find her. If we can then get her on the podcast, we will have you back again. And also, if it's okay with you, I would like very much, once this stuff happens and the dolls come out and the book is sold and blah, 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 and all this stuff, if you would come back and update us on everything and maybe help, some of our fans and listeners buy the products from you. I'm sure they would want to. And I'm sure after hearing this story, it would make people want to be a little bit closer to Ox Baker. When I knew him, and I talked to you and your mom, and Jeannie, your witness, there was nothing not right between us. He was a friend, and that was it. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you were married with child.
Well,
He
that's
just
what I
came
said
to
to her.
stay, at the house because he was wrestling for you.
Right,
guys.
exactly. And that's what I told her. I said, well, because you hear stuff all the time. And that's what I told her and her mom.
And he was there with
I forget who else was there.
I don't remember
Other wrestlers.
name.
Dominic was there, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
Dominic
no,
was always there.
No, I mean he was there with, I don't remember her name. I have a picture because I took a picture after he showed me his toenails. I took a picture of him and I thought it was his wife, but I don't think it was his girlfriend. But I honestly don't remember her name.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't. I don't remember that.
Well, I mean, my brother has said that, he found him in hotels. He had to pull women out of the room or my dad out of the room. Like, I mean, I've heard stories.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. And I told you and your mom this on the phone. Maybe it doesn't happen that much now, okay? But it did. It did back then. Wrestlers, female and male, it's just like entertainers of any kind. And it doesn't make it right. It's not right. But they
No.
were always cheating, always. And
Me and my
cheating
sisters
by
say
my
they partied
sister,
like rock stars.
Yeah. And it's a shame because their family suffered for it. And
Yeah.
that is, but
Well, and that's what
yes,
I mean, like with all the trauma. Like, he was really close to my brother. He saw me throughout my whole life, and he had nothing to do with my sister. We all have trauma from that.
oh yeah,
Garen blames me, but I'm like, I was created because my mom was lied to, and my mom and him were in love, and Garen's mom was still alive, and she died in a tragic car accident. And I feel so bad about that. But in the same reality, I wasn't a part of that. Like, I had no,
it's not your
like, in the
fault.
mix of
Right.
it. And then, sitting there watching my mom talk to Stephanie's mom and them saying similar things and similar stories, the heartbreak I could see relived in my mom. And I guarantee that's how Stephanie's mom looked like too. And it was just heartbreaking.
It was. It had to be. It had to be because you were. How could you be a part of that? You were created because of your mom and dad. You weren't created to be involved in somebody else's life or hurt them. It wasn't you. And that leads us back to what I said to you on the phone and what I've
Yeah.
said multiple. This was his fault. You know what I'm saying? He's the one who cheated. He's the one who knew he had a family. He's the one who did what he did. Not taking anything away from the love that the fans had for him. It has nothing to do with it. But he created the trauma. It was him. He did it,
Yeah.
and that's the bottom line. And it's under my skin so bad when, women or men, instead of blaming their spouse, blame the other person when their spouse is the one who did it.
Right.
Face it, grow up, people. But anyway, do you want me to put you in touch with other podcasters? Because I would gladly do that.
I mean, if you want to, that's fine.
Okay, I will do that. Also, I wanted to let you know, Jeannie, I talked to Megan about the Cauliflower Alley.
Okay.
I saw pictures of Ox
Yeah.
on a microphone at the events. I mean, I know he went there. He was there. I did speak to Rich Engling, and I asked him how, if he was involved there, and he said yes. I'm not going to make public what Rich said to me, but I did ask him if I could give Megan his number. So, Megan, I gave you his contact information. Please feel free to contact him. He's a wonderful, wonderful man.
So
He's been
kind, so
Oh yeah,
amazing. He
he's the
really
vice
is. He
president.
really
Been
is.
like that for like what 30 something years, maybe 50
Yeah.
years, 40 years, whatever. He will tell you everything you need to know about your dad and his involvement with Cauliflower Alley. We're not at liberty to make that public because it's a private issue. All right.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so you do that, and if you want to share it, that's up to you. Because I told him, that you wanted to know, and he did tell me what he told me. But he prefers talking to you, which is absolutely acceptable. But I just want to say thank you. I can't thank you enough
Yes.
for being on the show. As I said, you're more than welcome to come back. Next time, I swear to you, we'll find a way to get in here, for sure. I didn't even, and you know how normally if you send the wrong email, you get it back saying undeliverable? Well, I did get that once when I put the wrong number, but then I made sure I put the right number in, and I didn't get anything back. So I did send it correctly the second time. But
I'll
like I
tell him.
said,
I'll tell him, and I'm sure the next time we go at this, we can do it all together.
absolutely, absolutely. So
Because, like I said, he's like the bookworm. He knows everything.
well,
I know
love
bits
to
and
have him.
pieces.
Yeah, let's
You
have
come
him
in,
on with you again.
Jax.
And
You can come in,
can we say hi? Does he want to come in
Jax.
and
They
say
want
hi?
to say hi to you. He's a little shy.
Oh, come on,
He
Jack,
just
say hi.
he just peeked in and shook his head.
Oh, all right. But anyway, that was
Well,
Ox's
Megan,
grandson.
I just want to say that it has really been an honor. It really has been an honor, and I have so much respect for you and your family, your
Thank
siblings,
you.
and for you to be courageous enough to come on and tell your truth and your
Yeah.
father's truth. is just so wonderful, and it's definitely a story that needs to be out there, in my opinion.
It does. And I I want to give a shout out to the gentleman and his sister, Mike and Michelle. Mike is the one that, well, I'll take this back. It was 80s wrestling. My friend Shane, who my dad was an inspiration to him, who he became a wrestler. I don't know his stage name, but Shane tagged me, and it was Hogan getting beat by a granny. And it was a stage granny, as I was told. And somebody wrote, got hit by my grandma. Glad she didn't get heart punched. He just laughed at her. And then this Michael gentleman said, "Hey, I have Ox Baker's ashes." And I'm like, in my head, whoa, wait, what? So I reached out and I was like, "Can I ask you how you have my father's ashes?" And he told me that the crackhead got out of the house in 2016. He works at restoring grave sites, and she was friends with him. And she said, here's his ashes. Nobody came to collect him. He needs to be buried with his wife, Peggy. And he just wrote me saying that, he always thought that it was wrong if he buried him. Oh, they want to say, he wants to say hi now. Sorry.
Okay, come on, say hi. Oh, he shut the door.
He ran out.
He just ran away.
He ran out.
Oh.
But he said from 2016 until 2 weeks ago, he took care of my dad's ashes. They were on his mantle. He was searching, trying to find people. And I'm just very thankful that he believed me, because a lot of people are like, well, you got to prove you're Ox's daughter. I'm like, okay. But he believed me. He sent him to me. He said that my dad came in a dream.
To tell you that you're late for my meds.
Okay, can you just come say hi? There's just 2 girls. Just come say hi. Come say you're with mommy. Show them your shirt. You got to show them the Ox Baker shirt. They know Grandpa. No? Okay.
Okay.
They can't see you there. I'd love to show you his shirt, because it's one that my dad actually had made. Can I just show him the shirt?
Come on.
Okay, hold on.
So handsome.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's gorgeous. Gorgeous.
But this is Jax.
Hi, sweetie.
Hi, Jax.
This is the guy, or the kid that's the wrestler.
Oh, wow. How old is he?
11.
And what grade is he in?
5th.
Oh, God bless. Does he want to be a professional wrestler?
I don't know. Do you want to wrestle like Papa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, tell him
They
when
did
he's
call him
older,
Ox Jr. in the ring.
tell him when he gets older, he can look us up, and we'll do what we can to help him out. How's that?
That would be awesome. That would be
That would be
amazing.
Meds.
I have him. Hold on.
Oh,
Oh, you brought his ashes up here?
Yeah, I had to show them that. They wanted to see. He said, I'm going to put my dad's ashes in like a Build-A-Bear, because that's just something physical. I don't want him in an urn.
yeah. There's a
My
lot.
dad was a beast, a bear.
Yeah, he was.
I don't know. Furry, fuzzy, hairy chest, back.
He was, definitely was. But Jeannie, if you can find that picture, please let me see it, because I swear I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'd like to see it too.
Yeah, I'll
remember it at all.
I'll go through it, and I'll bring it up.
Yeah, and I'll let
I'll
you
see you
it now.
tomorrow.
But along
That'll-
this journey, I've met really cool people. I've met Ric Flair and Jerry the King Lawler. I've met him, and they were all amazed that, to find out who my dad was. The Douglases, Shane Douglas, he's amazing too. He's been so helpful and kind. There's still good people out there.
He could be helpful and kind. Isn't that great? I told you about it.
Well, his little brother, who's 7 foot something, scared my kids half to death when we were in Chillicothe, because Jax was like, he's too tall.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, Megan, thank you again for being on our show.
Yes.
Like I said, we definitely want you back. And I agree wholeheartedly with Jeannie. We are honored. We are completely taken aback by what happened to your father, and we're so sorry.
Yes.
But like I said, when you get everything rolling and you get the dolls and you get everything, I'm sure people will want very much, to buy them and the book and everything else. I know I do.
Oh, yeah.
Also, people that are listening, you can contact, if that's okay, Megan, you can
Yeah.
contact her on Facebook. She's a friend of mine, and I've put her name up there now 100 times this week. So her name is Meghan Baker Kelly, and it's Megan with a GH. It's not just a G. So contact her. Say hello to
Hey,
her.
and yeah, my dad named me that and spelled it. So that came from my dad.
Oh, he did. He spelled it that way.
Yeah, it's
Did he
Irish.
really? It's Irish.
Because
Okay.
my great somebody or other came from Ireland, and he was about 7 foot tall. There was
Wow.
a picture at the family reunion. He was taller than a Christmas tree. But they came
Wow.
from Ireland, so it's Irish. And I don't know how many times I've been told, well, Megan's spelled wrong. I'm like, well, what's the right way? We
Well,
got Maygan and all kinds of craziness.
Well, I started out spelling it just MEGAN at
Yeah.
first, and it's not going through. And then I realized that it was a GH. But we will definitely be in touch. Definitely be in touch. And I will.
Oh no, please keep in touch.
Same with you. Same with you. Give me a call when you want to talk or anything new happens, and I will try my best to get in touch with Robin Rusimov for you, because I'd love to
Oh,
have you
I would
both.
love that. I would just love
Can you
I mean, I
imagine?
don't know where she lives. Like I haven't deep dived into it, but it would just be very cool to meet her.
I'm going to deep dive into it. You do it too, and I'll tell you what. If we can get her to agree to come on the show, we'll have both of you on, and that will be freaking awesome. Could you imagine
Oh
Andre's
yeah.
daughter and Alex Baker's daughter? How cool is that?
Oh my
Now
God.
Hey,
that,
I hung out with Brooke Hogan, and that was amazing to me.
see
Oh
if you can
yeah.
get her, bring her on too. Anybody can come. But maybe next time Jax will sit and talk with us for a little bit too. So that'll be nice. But
Yeah.
be in touch, and thank you again so much for
Yes.
sharing.
You're
your
welcome. Please send me this link so I can share it out. I would love to share it out with you, with everybody.
Please do, and I hope you are comfortable and you are happy with what we did here today.
I am. It was just time. It was just time.
And like I said, it'll be out there. Trust me, it's going to go on when we.
And no offense to all the guys that I've been on the podcast with. I don't know anything, but I just wanted to tell the truth because a lot of people didn't know and they needed to know.
Yeah.
You're
Because the
right.
more that I'm out there, I don't want to shock people. I hate shocking people.
I know, but you know what? You're right, and we're honored that we were the first people who you told your truth to. But this podcast goes on a lot of platforms, from Spotify to iHeartRadio to iTunes to we're going to put it on Twitter, we're going to put it on Instagram, it's going to go on Facebook, and it's on YouTube. So YouTube is one of the biggest. And we'll just be in touch, and we'll made a new friend today, and I'm grateful.
Yep, and if
Yes.
you want, I mean, I don't have a lot of videos, but I'm starting to go on TikTok myself. If
Right.
anybody wants to go check out TikTok, I'm on TikTok. The Price is Right. We didn't even talk about The Price is Right. My mom got him on The Price is Right. She
Oh my
still
God.
has.
Say it. Go. Say it.
My mom got him on The Price is Right, and there is on YouTube land. Somebody did put out the video of him. She still has the clock at her house, and it is on TikTok. I took a little video, and I'm like, hey guys, this is the clock off Price is Right.
I saw it and I forgot, because I'm on TikTok. I didn't start doing promotions yet, but I'm on TikTok and I friended you on TikTok,
Okay.
or followed you or whatever. Are you on Instagram too?
I am.
All right. Well, I'm going to go find you on there too, and we'll follow you there. And then I definitely want you back, and we got a lot more.
Yeah, well, see, TikTok was first just to be funny and cute and do silly videos with my husband and my kids.
Yeah.
Because my kids like to be silly all day long. And I'm like, why not? And then, there's a dirty joke on there my husband did, because he's like, what do you get at? I think it was Staples. And then what do you get at Dick's? And then he goes, what do you get at BJ's? And he goes running. It's on there. It's on there. And my husband's shorter than me, but he is amazing, sweet, and funny just to be around. And he had the bright idea to make a life-size poster. So I have a 6'8" poster of my father that people can stand next to with the belt, and you guys can get pictures with him.
Oh wow, that'd be
Oh,
awesome.
wow.
I wish we
Yeah.
could see you in person. That'd
Great
be
idea.
Yeah, so we have that with us too.
Well, next time there's a con or anything out here that I can put you on, I'll contact you and I'll get in touch with whoever's running the con, and then we'll get you out here.
Hey, anybody you want to fill out or send me out to, have them contact me. We'll get it done. Something.
Okay.
We'll work it out.
You got it, girl. All right. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Yes,
Bye,
thank
guys.
you.
Touch. Bye bye.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime,
Bye.
honey. Thank you for coming.
Anytime.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Wow. What a story. What a story.
I'm in awe. I only met the man the one time at your house. And like I said, he was just very sweet, very nice, very, after I got over being terrified of him.
Yeah.
And to hear that this was what was going on is just heartbreaking.
It is
heartbreaking.
It is
heartbreaking. And I really want, I mean, there's nothing we can do.
No, but I'd like to be in a room with those two by myself for 10 minutes.
Oh my God. Yes.
Like that match that they had on AEW.
And just to be, to get justice. Because there really needs to be justice on this.
Yeah,
there really
the cops need to do something. They need to find a way. I mean, there's closed cases all the time, and they find people 20, 30 years later. I hope the right people watch this show and get this information. Maybe something can still be done. That man, God bless him, and it's fun. It's terrible to happen to anybody.
Right.
But to see a man of that stature and that appearance and that size be abused and tied up and beaten and
he was pretty much helpless at that point.
Well, yes, at that point
he
also had
Alzheimer's, dementia, diabetes.
But imagine that. I mean, I can't even imagine that. I can't. I really can't. And I think to myself, so many things happen to the elderly that's sinful. It's just sinful.
Yeah.
And to see something like that happen, and a lot of people nobody knows, apparently, from what Megan was saying, nobody knows what really happened until now. And it's a truth that needs to be told. So everybody, listen to this podcast multiple times if you have to. Put it out there, share it, put it out, let people know what happened. And this needs to be put out there. And I can't imagine Megan's torture. I can't imagine being her and having that happen to my parent and not being able to do anything about it. Oh my God, that's just not fair right there in more ways than one, And she's a great woman. She's a wonderful person. And like you said, I got to give her a ton of respect because she has been fighting, and she's so professional, and she's so sweet, and she's so not me. Mm-mm. I'd have been arrested 100 times by now. And that. I mean, there's no way. No way.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. There's certain things that are just unforgivable, and if nobody's gonna, get justice, then guess what?
No.
I got a car, shovel, some rope, and some limes.
And a bag.
Where are we going? No body, no crime. What are you gonna do?
Exactly. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But anyway, please share. Share. And also, we're going to get her back. Also, if anybody has a contact to Robin Rusumoff, give her our number, give her our email address, give her our podcast information, anything, so we can contact her and have her and Megan on the show together. Also, don't forget, tomorrow we're going to Ryan Kavanaugh's show at the ECWA in Marlboro/Manalapan, and it's going to be the Super 8 again. Next week, Jeannie and I are going to Super Crazy. We're going to have our podcast earlier next week because of that fact. God willing, everything goes okay. We're going to have DC Drake again next week.
Yes.
And we got a lot of cool people lined up between now and May 3rd also. Yes. We also want you to be there on May 3rd.
Yes.
Don't wait till the last minute. Buy your tickets now, okay? And I want to say this one last thing for Joel, because I know he absolutely loves it when I say it. Let me be honest with you. I tried not to say it all night. I don't know if I did or not, but I had to say it once.
I don't remember one way or the other.
Anyway, Jeannie, I love you. I will see you tomorrow. Yes. Be in touch. This will drop tonight. And we love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for always
Yes,
being
thank
there.
you.
Thank you for making us what we are becoming, and I'm grateful for that. Love you all, and we'll see you next week.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Bye.